Welcome to RealLeader series. It's a partnership between Matrix360 and Informa Canada. Our purpose today is to showcase real estate leaders' stories and their journey in regards to their successes, their lessons learned, and their focus point for the next generation of the future. Today we're so happy to be with Kevan Gorrie, President and CEO of Granite REIT, to join us and to share his little tidbit about his journey into the landscape of the Canadian real estate industry of Canada. So Kevan, I would like to ask you your first question here is, please do tell us about your journey, how you started in real estate, what got you into real estate, and why do you continue to be this amazing leader in real estate?
I like that last part.
Yeah.
I actually, it's a more roundabout journey for me. I initially practiced as a civil engineer, and I worked in the telecom industry mostly. I designed towers and other structures for the telecom industry, and I had a chance through that to travel abroad and work in many jurisdictions. And I think, like a lot of people, I fell into the real estate side, initially in development and CapEx planning on the physical side of the business. But when I come to think of it, that was almost 20 years ago now.
Oh, wow. That's great. So based on your experience as an engineer then, that in itself had sort of led you to this industry itself?
Well, yes, in a way. I mean, I was attracted, if you will, to the real estate industry on the development side, had the ability to do development work on physical projects, which was very interesting to me. And it gave me an amazing opportunity to broaden my experience and use my skills, analytical skills, to really learn how business worked, how business made money. And it taught me that there are a lot of businesses that don't make money and how easy it is not to make money.
Yeah, no, for sure. So then what would you say one impact moment for you that you felt over the last 20 years of your career?
I think there have been many impact moments for me, both good and bad, and I think I've been fortunate enough to be in many experiences, both positive and negative, that have helped formed my career. I have nothing specifically I can point to, but I would say integrity, honesty, those types of characteristics have really shown through for me in terms of being important to have success in business and real estate. And I've seen people in many instances really damage their careers through dishonest behavior and bad decisions. And I think if you keep integrity and honesty at the top of your list of things to keep in mind when you're conducting business, I think you'll have success.
Okay. And so do you think that you learned this concept of owning your honesty, was it a childhood thing, or did you learn that as you were progressing in the industry itself?
I hope that it certainly is a characteristic that I've had with me for a number of years and not something I simply developed on the real estate side. But I think what I've learned in real estate is how much of a relationship business it really is. And the trust in your reputation is paramount. And if you lose that, it's a permanent thing. You can never replace it. And I think that aspect of it in real estate, because of the relationship, the importance of relationships here, trust is everything. Trust matters.
So going with that flow of that thought, let's talk about when you were starting your career 20 years ago. Did you have any individual that you looked up to, and did he or she have that influence with you to sort of help shape your path for you in real estate?
Well, I was lucky enough. I don't think I had a specific mentor. I certainly wasn't part of a formal mentorship program, but I've been fortunate enough to work with many individuals that have helped form my career. And if I were to mention some takeaways, I think one thing that I've learned from others is how to listen. How to take into account different views and how to incorporate other people's views into your decision making. And it's really taught me to learn how to respect how decisions that you make can impact others per se in an organization. And I think that's something that I've learned over the years very strongly from people I've been around.
Yeah. And so based on that, was there one piece of advice that they've shared with you that you've carried to this day, the last 20 years?
Well, there's many pieces of advice. I would say one thing for me that I have learned and working with others is there was a time where I've had to step into roles that are different from my own and take over teams and assume management of different individuals. And I've tried to change the culture overnight in a way and try to, in my way, I felt empower people. But sometimes people read those comments and instructions differently, and what you see as empowerment, they see as a burden of responsibility.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I've learned through others as well is to really understand your audience and understand the people that you're working with and help tailor not only the communication, but help tailor the structure, if you will, to different individuals and their needs and roles within an organization.
So how do you actually manage when you have people in your group who have conflict or who seem that they don't fit into the culture, but they do have that particular skill set that can benefit the corporation or the mission of the company?
I don't think there's a truly right answer to that question, and you deal with it as a leader all the time, and you learn that it is good to have conflicting ideas.
Yes.
It is good to have diversity of opinion.
Absolutely.
And so you shouldn't try and surround yourself with people that are exactly the same as you. That being said, you should know as a leader when it's a problem.
Yeah.
When it becomes a distraction, when it hurts the organization rather than helps the organization. And I think the one thing that I keep in mind is covert over overt. If you can't get it on the table and you can't talk about it, then you have to make a change.
So going with that, let's talk about this cultural thing and diversity and inclusion. And we've had several conversations around this topic. And, the Canadian stats is 52% of the population in larger urban centers are female. Between 35% and 54% belong to people of color, that particular group. So when we look at the real estate structure and the framework of real estate as an industry, a few years ago, Matrix360, we conducted a workplace strategy survey in regards to diversity, and we found out that less than 34% of the leadership positions, senior leadership positions, are females, and less than 25% of senior leadership positions are of people of color. So knowing those little data points, in your perspective and your experience, what do you think are some of the challenges that are, I wouldn't say keeping women or people of color from the senior leadership roles, but what's creating this imbalance from fixing itself?
Well, I think that's a complicated question, to be sure. What I would offer from my perspective, and I think your points are valid, what I would say is if you look historically at the real estate sector, I'm someone that in a way fell into the real estate sector. I didn't get into business to get into real estate. It happened, and I think that goes for a number of people in this industry, but historically it's been a very staid, boring industry, and it hasn't had a lot of relevance in Canada and many countries, but that's beginning to change. I think it's becoming a more interesting business. It's becoming more relevant in the Canadian context, and I think that is continuing to attract a more diverse spectrum of people. It's about bringing the brightest and the best into the organization, regardless of background or gender. And I think we're seeing the benefits of that as real estate takes its place as among one of the more important industries in Canada.
So really, it's coming down to the awareness side of being exposed, so people could then understand that there is this thing called real estate, which is an industry, and that's actually, a great industry to be in.
I will tell you how the real estate industry has changed since I came into it in the late 90s. It's transformational.
Sure.
It has become a much more sophisticated business, not just construction and development, it's asset management, investments.
Yeah.
It's a totally grown-up, mature, sophisticated industry up there with tech and other industries.
So one question I wanted to ask you is, what do you think, in your perspective, is the largest misconception about you in the real estate industry?
That's a great question. I've never been one, as my wife would say, I've never been one to listen to others. So I'm probably not the best person to ask about it. But I would say I think a lot of people feel that I'm someone that really likes control of situations, and I'm not that way at all. I am not a micromanager of my people. I'm lazy by nature. I like to hire good people and surround myself with good people and let them drive the business.
Absolutely, and I could actually support you on that because you've built several great teams in your career, and
Thank you.
It's because of your leadership. One last question. If you could use one word or one term to capture the essence of you as a leader, and that you could share with the next generation of leaders coming up in the pipeline, what would that be?
I would say, I believe this to be true, and I hope that others would agree. I think I have courage in my convictions. I will listen to others, but at the end of the day, I have conviction in what I think is right and best for the organization, and I'm not afraid to follow that path, even if it's not a popular choice.
Thank you again, Kevan, for sharing your insights about your leadership, your style, and why you're really a strong leader for our industry, and that many people need to look up to you. So I do really thank you for that. Once again, on behalf of Informa Canada and Matrix360, we'd like to thank you for your time and your patience as we uncover and showcase some of our great Canadian leaders in real estate. If you'd like to know more information, please do check us out on our website at www.matrix360.ca and informacanada.ca. Thanks so much.